back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have a new and special guest with us, the President and CEO of Maritime Resources, which can be traded as MAE, Garrett McDonald. Thank you, Garrett, for being here with us today. It's an exciting time for the gold sector and especially for Maritime Resources.
Thank you, Jeb. It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we discuss today's news about the upside potential and the drilling that's getting started, I wanted to first introduce the company. Tell us, Garrett, about your background and how you got interested in mining, specifically mining engineering.
Yeah, I had about 24 years of experience. I actually grew up in the business. My family had an aggregate company, so I kind of grew up around it, and then went to Sudbury, did my undergrad at Laurentian University, and my first job was with Placer Dome up in Red Lake. So I've worked around Canada mainly. I was in Timmins, did some open pit mining up in Fort McMurray for Suncor Energy, and then went back to school, did an MBA at Ivy at Western, and then really for the last, I would say, 10, 15 years, have spent more time on the development side, looking at projects that we were able to develop and build. I was with Rainy River Resources as a VP operations. The company was sold to New Gold, and then I did a little stint in consulting. It was between 2015 and 2018. And probably the main project that I worked on was Dalradian's Curranault project in Northern Ireland. Narrow vein, high grade, very large gold deposit there, and I led the feasibility study. What I noticed there, though, and what I guess where we ended up looking at Newfoundland, was that the high grade veins over there were very similar to a project in Newfoundland and Labrador called Hammerdown. So we started looking at that, and then, through serendipity, ended up coming into the company as president and CEO early last year. So since that time, we've had a really good run. We've had a chance to look at the project. We realized there's potentially a lot more going on there than we thought. We came up with a very good mine plan and PEA study that was announced at the end of February this year. We followed that up with an agreement for the Nugget Pond Gold Circuit with Rambler Metals and Mining, and then just recently announced a $3.5 million private placement, and then this morning announced a 10,000 meter drill program at the Hammerdown Gold Project.
Well, that's a lot going on. So let's break that down, because so much has taken place recently that I don't really think that investors quite understand yet. You've really accomplished a lot over the past few months. Talking about Dalradian, because for some of my investors who are new to the gold sector, I believe that was taken out by Orion. It was taken private for $400 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It went private, I think, a couple of years ago. It's a very big and very interesting gold project over there. And the veins are very similar to what we see at Hammerdown. And Hammerdown is interesting as well because it was an operating mine at one time. It was a company called Richmont Mines, opened the mine up in 2000, ran it for about 4 years, and then closed the mine during a time of very low gold prices. In fact, they operated with a pretty high cutoff grade, around 8 grams. So
8 grams,
over the life, 8 gram cutoff grade, which gave them a head grade to the mill of around 15 grams. So it's a pretty high grade mine.
15 grams. Huh.
15 grams through the mill. They produced around 143,000 ounces during their operation. So what we're left with now is...
What do you think made them stop, Garrett? Was it just the low gold price?
Yeah, I think that certainly contributed to it. Richmont was a company that was well known for developing and operating gold mines in Canada. They would go in and traditionally would mine out deposits in 3 or 4 or 5 years and move on to another one. So they didn't spend a lot of time on exploration, but they were very good underground miners.
Richmont was taken out by Wesdome, if I'm correct. No,
no, they were taken out by Alamos Gold
Alamos.
a
That's
few
right.
years.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Alamos. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a lot of potential left at Hammerdown. In fact, we have a combined mineral resource of close to 1 million ounces remaining at this point, and we think there's room to grow with that. There's a lot of exploration potential, and that's part of our 10,000 meter drill program starting today, is actually looking for the other, I guess the other side of the Hammerdown deposit. It is cut off by a fault, and a lot of questions remain for us as to where that deposit went. Is it structurally, shifted somewhere? Is it deeper? Is it along strike? So part of our program will get some real data to try and answer that question, because that's the big prize. If we were able to find that original Hammerdown deposit along strike or shifted deeper, well, then that's a big win. That could be a game changer for us. And as well, within this 10,000 meter program, we do have some infill drilling to do for the next resource update and the feasibility study that's coming, and some grade control drilling just to test our mining, our mining method and our block model size. So yeah, we'll get a lot of information out of this initial 10,000 meter program.
So what's interesting is, and it's important for investors to make sure to go to the website and go to maritimeresourcescorp.com and to download the presentation. The key is the slide about the untested depth potential, which really shows the limited drilling below the 250 meters and the Hammerdown offset target. Could you describe that a little more for people who are want to understand about the excitement going into this drilling program?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said here, we have a pretty high grade deposit that is cut off by a fault at around 250 meters in depth. So when they were mining this, they mined up to the fault and then they kind of stopped. There were a few attempts to drill on the other side of the fault to find out, if this thing continued. And what we're looking for is this Hammerdown deformation zone. So it could have shifted deeper, and it also could have shifted laterally. This is a pretty structurally complex area that we're dealing with, but that also opens up opportunities for us, because that's where the fluids tend to flow, is in structures that have opened up and allowed the mineralization to deposit. So it traditionally around this project though has really only drilled down to maybe 250, 300 meters below surface. So generally pretty shallow. Hammerdown sits within a 5 kilometer long area that we own, and we have another deposit 2 kilometers away called Orion. So there's a lot of potential between those two deposits, and then along strike is even further past Hammerdown, and then also at depth. So I guess that's what we're dealing with, is we have a situation where a well-known underground miner came in with a high cutoff grade during low gold prices, mined it for a few years, looked around just to see if anything was close by, and they took off to do some other things and left this opportunity here. So over the years, we've picked away at it, but haven't found the offset yet. But I think we have a good shot at it this year with this program.
Talk to us about, Garrett, there's this Whisker. You also have multiple Whisker Valley project, which is a new gold discovery that's 10 kilometers from Hammerdown. And you have, I guess they trenched almost over 13 grams per ton over 31 meters, which looks pretty impressive. Plus, there's this boulder field where you have assays up to over 80 grams per ton gold. Could you comment on if there's going to be any work on either the Whisker Valley, the boulder field, or the trenching the Gary vein system?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, Whisker Valley is a very interesting project for us. It's a brand new thing. We consolidated a pretty large land package last year. We spent a lot of time, prospecting, soil sampling, trenching, in a few drill holes. Um, and yeah, we're finding veins there that look a lot like Hammerdown, narrow, high-grade veins with quartz and pyrite. So we're seeing high grades of gold, silver, and even copper in some cases. We're working in a couple of areas on this big project, but it's pretty exciting because it shows you that you know it's a big area with a lot of potential, and we don't know a lot about it yet. It's brand new. Really, last year was our first summer really working on it, and yeah, the focus right now is the 10,000-meter program at Hammerdown, and then we'll shift a little bit out regionally, including Whisker Valley here later this summer. So definitely we want to do some drilling here. We have some targets in mind. We need to do a little more work on the ground, some additional geophysical surveys and some more trenching. But that high-grade boulder field is very interesting for us as well. So you have a valley essentially with high-grade veins trenched over 350 meters on the west side of the valley, and then a concentrated area of high-grade boulders on the east side of the valley. So how are they connected? We don't know yet, but it looks very interesting for us, and we'll definitely be there later in the summer, hopefully with some drill targets, and then we'll get the drills over there later on.
Garrett, let's talk about what attracted me to Maritime is the significant technical team that you have on board in addition to yourself, and you just announced the chief operating officer from Dalradian to come on as a technical advisor. So if you could highlight what makes Maritime so interesting from a technical perspective of the team.
Yeah, we've put a really good team together, Jeb. It's come together nicely over the last year and a half. So right on the ground as well, we've got one of the great things we have is the former chief geologist that was at Hammerdown when it was operating with Richmond. So, and he lives right in town, Larry Pilgrim. Yes, we did add a new advisor to the company, Eric Trombley, who's the COO of Dalradian. Just for full disclosure, there's no association between the two companies, but Eric was kind enough to lend his experience and his support as we grow the company. He's probably one of the best mining engineers out there. Was the general manager of Canadian Malartic, so definitely knows a lot about operations and permitting and developing new projects. So yeah, we're thankful to have him, and we have Jeremy Nemi as our technical advisor on the exploration side. So Jeremy was former VP exploration at GoldQuest and Noront, and before that with Kinross. So a lot of good technical experience here on the team and on the board as well. We have John Hayes from Pretium, and Mark Ashcroft from Aurelius Minerals, and also Peter Mercer, who is the VP and general manager at the Ramblers mine in Newfoundland. So it's a good team. We'll be adding to it, I think, as we grow. But for the immediate future, the focus is really on this drill program, and then also starting our project permitting very soon, actually.
Also, it's important to note the shareholder support. You just raised $3.5 million. Could you highlight the financial support and the shareholders who have been supportive of the company?
No, it's really a good group of shareholders. We've had great support from them, even just recently with the $3.5 million, financing. So Dundee Goodman Merchant Partners are our largest shareholder, around 18.8%. Sprott, through the Sprott Capital and Asset Management Groups, own roughly 17% of us. And we have 1832, that's Rob Cohen in Toronto, 5%, and EDE Asset Management of 4%. So yeah, it's a great group. Everyone works well together. We can rely on them for also technical support along the way as well. But it's been a great experience so far, and they're always always there for us, and they're long-term shareholders who want to see Hammerdown in production.
Those are some smart shareholders and some smart people on the board that I've known and followed for a while. This company, there's very few really good assets in great jurisdictions. Let's highlight the jurisdiction before we conclude the interview. Newfoundland. There's been a lot of activity there recently, and there's a lot of support for mining and exploration.
Oh, totally, yeah, Jeb. It's you're right about that, and it's actually one of probably the best places that I've worked in my career. It's a province that has a long history of mining, especially where we are up in the Bay Verde area. So there's 2 operating mines close to us. The province and the local communities been very supportive of mining, and this is the only province that I've actually heard of or seen that actually has a kind of a target or a goal that they envision 5 new mines in the next 10 years. So, it doesn't mean at all that we have to lighten up on any of the good background and baseline work that we do to make sure projects are designed correctly to minimize environmental impacts. So we're doing our work there, and we plan to submit our permit application sometime this month, actually, for Hammerdown. And it has been a great place to work, and we look forward to further investment in the province, either in the form of our Hammerdown project and a lot more exploration, because we think it's a great place to be.
Well, I encourage investors to go to the website maritimeresourcescorp.com. You can always email the company for any questions you have at info@maritimegold.com. They're also on Twitter. You can call them at their Toronto office at 416-365-5321 if you have any questions on the recent PEA or about the balance sheet or about the upcoming drilling program or any other questions you might have on the company. Garrett McDonald here with us today, the CEO and President of Maritime Resources Corp., which can be traded as MAE on the TSX Venture. Lots of recent developments, exciting news, drilling starting. Please do some more due diligence. And thank you, Garrett, for taking the time and for giving us an introduction to this exciting company.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if they come up, and I look forward to keeping you updated as we go along here.